Visitors requesting permission to address the board. Visitors requesting permission to address the board on a specific agenda item should sign in before the meeting starts on the form on the board table. The board requests a discussion time limit of 3 minutes on any specific agenda item, and we will ask visitors to make only one appearance per item. We ask those addressing the board to speak from the podium and to state their name and address. Board Policy 0167.3 dictates that personnel issues will not be addressed. Concerns about individual employees of the district should be brought to the superintendent or designee. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. The Board of Trustees respectfully requests those guests and visitors in attendance to be courteous and to silence their cell phone. As always, we start our meeting with prayer. And Lisa, could you do that for us, please?
Yes. Can you pray, please? Dear God, we thank you for the gift of our community and where we work and live, and guide us tonight with your spirit so that we can make the best decisions for our students and our teachers in our community, and help us reflect your light and love to each other and to our community. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Call to order. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hurd.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. We do have everyone present. Item D, mission statement. Lisa.
Lebanon Community School Corporation will cultivate and reach every student by influencing and enriching their lives through the power of education, and we will do so in a positive and safe learning environment.
Okay, thank you. Item E, superintendent announcements. Dr. Millen.
Thank you, Mr. Bertrand. We'll start off this evening by a reminder that it went out to all the parents this week that we announced that all LCSE students will be receiving free meals for breakfast and lunch until further notice. This was made possible. It's an extension of a federal program. It's actually tied to the summer lunch program. It's a complicated process. It's a federal program, so that goes with the territory. But it is an extension of that program, which allows us to do that. So pleased to share that with the families, and they may notice that their students were getting lunches, but there wasn't anything coming off their accounts. So we wanted to make sure that they were aware of what was going on. As a side note, though, we've continued to remind folks that they do need to complete their applications for free and reduced lunch, because once this program ends, we want to make sure that the benefits continue for those who are already on the program or may qualify for it in the future. But that is something that was new and different than we've experienced in the past due to our current circumstances. I wanted to highlight this evening our career engagement program. Kristen Scott continues to do an outstanding job engaging with the community and securing placements for our students. We have 38 work-based learning students, 16 cadet teachers throughout the district, and 14 students in the precision machining program this year. So full boat there, so congratulations to her. We actually have 9 new partners included in that list this year. So again, under our current circumstances and what we're dealing with the pandemic, our community stepping up and receiving our students and including them in that school to work pipeline. And so we are very grateful for that and congratulate Kristen for all of her hard work. On August 21st, prior to our first football game, we were able to do a little ribbon cutting ceremony and usher in the new turf field. And we have a little bit of painting to do on the light poles, but the new lights have been hung at the football field as well. We're just about ready to punch that job completely out here soon. The pole vault equipment and mats were delivered this week. So it's exciting to see that. The tennis courts are coming along. We have what do we have? 7 of the 10 courts playable at this point, and we'll provide a ribbon cutting ceremony to that as well coming up soon. And the welding lab should be available very soon. The electrical panels that were kind of on back order have been installed now, so that's what we needed to obviously hook our equipment to. So we're very close to finishing that too. So congratulations to Mr. Tate and all of the crew and his oversight in those projects. The chiller work here at the high school will begin and really ramp up over fall break when we'll be a little bit more unoccupied. So that's on track as well. It was exciting to see some athletic contests, that football game, some tennis matches, and just came from the volleyball match. We do have our athletes who are in action, but also our band was able to participate this past weekend in Brownsburg. So we thank our friends down there for providing that opportunity for students around the area to get at least one opportunity to perform in front of their family and friends and get some feedback from some judges. So we are glad that our band was able to participate in that. And along that same vein, just continue to be proud of our community and parents, students, faculty, doing what they're supposed to be doing every day. We have parents that have called their students in at the appropriate time, and as it's turned out, they've made the right decision. As maybe, circumstances in their home, the student ends up being a close contact, or the parent ends up being a close contact to COVID, and it was because of their being on top of it that the student was not in school. It didn't affect the classrooms, didn't affect the faculty or the staff. So our parents are paying attention, and we just thank everybody for doing their part, and hopefully we're on that eventual track to 100% in-person learning at some point. So that's all I have for this evening.
I have a question on the meals. So you said that every person has to fill out the form still for free and reduced?
No, we just want to encourage those that had been, already in the process of filling it out because they were qualifying or felt
okay.
that they were qualifying, needed to continue that process, because once this portion of the federal extension runs out, we don't want any interruption in service
Okay.
for those families who do qualify for free or reduced
Okay.
lunch.
All right.
Another reason would be, and the reason we need to apply now is for textbook assistance, for the curriculum material assistance, we need them to complete that application because this
Thank you.
federal program does not cover the textbook assistance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just for the meals at this point.
Right, okay.
Right.
All right, thank you. Item number two, approval of minutes. Board, I need a motion to accept the minutes from our August 18th regular scheduled meeting.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Wyrie, was that you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Any questions about those minutes? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from our August 18th, 2020 meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item number three, certify executive session content. I need a motion to accept our August 26th executive session content. And during that we talked about the purchase of some real property, option of some leasing stuff, job performance evaluation for an individual employees, talk about subdivision, salary, compensation, benefits. So I need a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions about any of that stuff? All those in favor of the certifying the executive session content signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Audience of visitors, we don't have anybody signed up. Item number 5, consent agenda for routine business matters. Mr. Tate.
Yes, my pleasure to report to the board and the community this evening. Our monthly financial report shows these percents expended as of August 31st. Our education fund is at 60.42%, operation fund at 55.96%. And you can note that's comfortably below our budget track right now. So both funds are in good shape at this point in time. At this time, I'd ask for approval of claims 51729 through 51906, and the payrolls dated August 21st and September 4th. The claims total $2,386,500.96. The payrolls total $1,598,756.22, for a total of $3,985,257.18. Request approval of payrolls and claims.
Okay. Board, I need a motion to pay our bills and pay our employees.
I'll make the motion.
Robert? Second?
Second.
Lisa? Any questions about those? All those in favor of approving claims 51729 through 51906 and payrolls August 21st and September 4th, 2020 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tate, did you want to give us an update?
Dr. Melvin did, so we're fine. We can move
Okay.
forward.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Or leave anything out, Mr. Tate?
You did a fantastic job.
Fantastic.
Okay. Item number 6, agenda for routine staff matters. Dr. Millman.
Thank you, Mr. Bertrand. This evening, under 6A in our classified recommendations, we have 2 Methodist Children's Home instructional assistants, 1 custodial position, 4 instructional assistant positions, 1 secretary position at Lebanon High School, 1 remote learning support personnel position, and 1 food service. Remind the board that for the children's home positions that it is a private school placement, but it's within the boundaries of Lebanon Community Schools. So since they receive Title I funding, and in their case, Title I delinquent funding, that has to go through our Title I allocation. That's true for any private school placement within our boundaries that would receive title dollars or federal dollars. That's the case for Title II, which supports staff development, et cetera. So when folks see us recommending positions for a private school within the boundaries of our district, that's why. We are responsible for administrating those dollars and making sure they're spent properly. And
It's
it's
just
good
like
to,
Traders Points.
it's good. Traders Point, they participated in our Title II program, so we do have to adjudicate those dollars to them. Just a good reminder for the public that public schools are responsible for administrating dollars at the private schools, and that's why they're on that list. Under 6B this evening, Tracy Shriver, Director of our Joint Services Special Education Program, has submitted her letter of retirement effective November 30th, 2020. Steve Dollahan, who is a current Assistant Director of the Joint Services, is recommending Felicia Custis as a special needs teacher at Traders Point Christian Academy, yet another program that the public schools are responsible for administrating for private schools within their boundaries. We are responsible for the hiring and the evaluation of the special education staff at Traders Point as they service students who live in our district. So we're responsible for that as well. Kelly Solomon is recommending Lauren Spandau, who is a current IA, to fill a maternity leave at Stokes Elementary, and Kelly Solomon is also recommending Jordan Hoffman for yet another maternity leave at Hattie B. Stokes. I think we have 4 at Stokes this year at minimum and counting. So she's leading the pack this year in maternity leaves. She has 2 recommendations there. Under 6D, for our extracurricular positions, Dr. Dye is recommending 3 ECA positions at Harney. Susan Gesswein as a .5 tech coach, Becky Warren as a .5 tech coach, and Matt Farrell as a .5 academic coach. Kevin O'Rourke is recommending some positions as well. Katie Trafford as a music department assistant, Ted Clooney as freshman class sponsor, and Karen Turner as sophomore class sponsor. It's a long list tonight, but that's all I have for the staff recommendations.
Okay. Board, I'm gonna lump these together, so I need a motion to accept the classified, certified, staff communications, and the ECA that were presented to us tonight.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions about any of those items? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the classified, certified, staff communications, and ECA matters that were presented to us tonight, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 7, request approval of school improvement plan. Diane?
Well, good evening. On
Good
behalf
evening.
of the 6 principals, I've presented to you the school improvement plans for this current school year. This is an annual task. They work all year with their school improvement teams to develop these plans, and they are submitted to DOE after your approval for them to follow throughout the year. There are action steps in there for them to do to help work toward improvement. You'll notice basically each school has 2 primary goals for the year, each of them focusing on English language arts and math. So I entertain any questions you might have. It's a lot to read. Dr. Milliman and I sat down together last week, and we went through all of them and gave some feedback to the principals. Throughout the process, after the principals worked with their teams, they submitted them to me and I reviewed them. We went back and forth with some, conversations that led to this point. So they've
Right.
been thoroughly reviewed. I must say it was a bit of a challenge this year because this is a year-long task, and with our situation this past spring, it was quite a big undertaking
Mhm.
because you didn't have your people right in front of you to work together on these things. And this year we did challenge them a little bit in that for the first time ever, all 6 schools used the same template. And that was under Dr. Milliman's leadership. He met with Kari and I and reviewed a format that he was familiar with previously, and we made some adjustments to it to kind of accommodate our needs as a school district. And I felt like the principals really embraced it quite well. And as a reviewer, it sure made it a lot simpler to follow the way of thinking and still punch all the tickets that DOE requires for the school improvement planning process.
Okay.
I did have a question. Then how, moving forward, assuming we approve this tonight, moving forward, then how are you tracking with the plans and the?
Great question. After we submit it to DOE and get that, finalized, the next step is for us to kind of work with the principals periodically.
Mhm.
Ideally, we would be meeting with them quarterly to, ask for their kind of benchmark updates. This year, again, we're kind of in a little precarious of a situation, so Dr. Millman has informed them, and his plan is to go over them in their monthly meetings with him as kind of our next step.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will be, I've communicated with the principals in their December one-on-one, the one-on-one meetings I have with each principal each month, in December, March, and May. This is going to be a standing topic
Okay.
in each of those meetings. What we had planned to begin to implement this year were school improvement progress reviews with each school, where maybe they would actually bring members of teams within their building that have helped them reach the benchmarks, bring the data to us, walk through their progress, maybe their stumbling blocks, maybe their barriers. So the next step in this process, post-COVID-19, is to have another template that's a reflection document that principals and their team will complete either 3 or 4 times a year, to be determined, at minimum 3, where we have set those benchmarks. And so we'll know, they've submitted the plan in September, so when we meet with them in December, there'll be a December target that they will be, they'll set for September, so we'll be able to say, did you meet it? If you did, what can we do next? If you didn't, why not? Not a punitive conversation, more of how can we provide supports to help you reach those goals. But if we don't have those ongoing conversations, then it's just a document that sits on the shelf and
Right.
and we don't make any progress in the schools. So what I like about this template that's in front of you and that they filled out is it spends a lot of time on what the adults are going to do to make this happen. These are our goals, but what are the action steps that we feel are necessary? And it's time-bound. And I think it was a good exercise for folks to have that action plan in front of them. At least that's the feedback we've received. So That's the, I guess that is the long answer.
No,
on how
that's
that
great.
works, but that's
I love
our
the new
vision.
format because you can actually I mean, you can compare
Right.
school to school.
Right. Right.
Especially the elementary is much easier than
Right.
when it was just, everybody had their own
Yeah, that was always a
thing.
struggle.
So to look at it was difficult. So then going into next year, you'll have actual real information to move forward.
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
have,
that's
we'll have
great.
real information this year. I may bring Kari and Diane with me to the principals' one-on-ones in December, March, and May, because this dovetails it directly into their work. I mean, this is, the school improvement plan is curriculum and assessment. And the two of them should be congratulated. I dropped this in their lap and said, run with it. And they scrambled and used Google Docs like they were experts, and
Fake it
now
till
they
you make
are
it, right?
experts in doing that. And yeah, we'll grow together. That'll probably be the format moving forward, is some type of Google Doc format, because then it's a live document that we can all contribute to along the way. So, baby steps. We were going to take maybe one giant leap. Now we're back to baby steps, is where we are right now. There's a lot on our principals' plates right now, but we can't lose focus of the reason we're here. So we will have the periodic check-ins on the plans throughout the year.
I really believe what he's described to you is going to help us move beyond just compliance and actually action for
Yeah.
authentic improvement. And isn't that what we're all about, you know?
Yes, it is.
So I'm excited about that. And I think the principals have welcomed it. I really do.
I think this is great. I'm very impressed.
Any other questions from
Yeah,
anybody?
Diane, it says here it has to be by October 2nd. What happens if you don't get it in by the 2nd?
Well,
We get love letters from the Department of Education.
Because do you know, like when you do all this work and you turn it in, do they look at it?
what I believe is if it has our signatures attached to it, that we've gone through all this process and we've given assurances that this is done, then they're counting and trusting us that we are going to move forward with it. And it's kind of their checkpoint, because they can't read everybody's.
Right,
There are
yeah.
too many, you know.
Right.
They may do some spot checking, especially if a school or school district has trouble spots, then they become more deeply involved, and there are requirements that you must meet in your school improvement planning process that are way beyond what we're talking about today.
If you fall below certain letter grade benchmarks, then you get put into certain categories where you might receive targeted assistance from Department of Education, or they may assign someone, and then it becomes much more involved. This is part of a assurance process. This is one of the many things that we have green check marks on the DOE interactive website, you know, saying that we have done. And if you don't do that, then it could put us in jeopardy for being eligible for grant funding. Has there been an instance where schools have lost federal funding for something like this? It's in the code, and it's in the federal and state laws that you can. Have I seen that? No. But have I seen districts lose their ability to get school safety funding or grants, be eligible for grants? Yes, because you haven't complied with all of the requirements in completing these processes. So you can put your district in jeopardy of potential loss of funding and things of that nature.
You might have noticed that for Harney and Hattie B. Stokes, on their table of contents, it has an area that says Title I required, and it is not on the other 4 schools. They have to have additional requirements that are in their school improvement planning process that's attached to Title I. If they don't meet that, because they're checked
Yeah.
in a different way through title, then they'll get dinged, and instead of just a love letter, they'll give you kind of a warning and guidance. Not
Or-
as a slap in
Or
the
they'll
hand,
give you
but
an improvement plan that you have to
Follow theirs.
do a lot of documentation about how you're gonna make sure it doesn't happen again. You know, you'll have to do a lot of back-end
additional work,
Right.
yeah. So those 2 schools, in our case, do have additional requirements that do have strings attached.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions
Great
that I might
questions.
help with?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Board, I need a motion to approve the school improvement plan that was presented to us tonight.
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Is that you?
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. All in favor of the school improvement plan for the 2021 school year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. All right, thank you. Diane and Kari, thank you for the hard work on this, and everybody else that was part of it.
Bless you.
Item number 8, approval of teacher appreciation grant policy. Mr. Tate.
Yes, as you probably recall, Teacher Appreciation Grant is dollars straight from the state to be distributed to the teachers according to guidelines that the school board adopts. We do have an existing policy, but it does state the school board shall adopt an annual policy concerning the distribution of teacher appreciation grants, and this policy is to be submitted to the Department of Education. Our criteria is they must be employed in the classroom, rated as effective or highly effective, employed by the corporation as of December 1st of that year in order to receive the funds. Our guidelines as far as distribution, the funds are to be received usually in early December and distributed within 20 days as a cash stipend in the amount that is minimum of 25% more for the highly effective than the effective teachers. That's been our guideline and our policy. We've taken this through discussion with the LCTA and are in agreement that we continue with this. So I ask for the board to re-adopt this policy as written.
All right, board need approval of the teacher appreciation grant policy.
Make a motion.
Robert? Second?
Second.
Lisa? Any questions about that? Okay. All those in favor of the approval of the teacher appreciation grant policy signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9, request approval of stipend for Joint Services Assessment Resource Coordinator. Dr. Millen.
Thank you, Ms. Bertrand. The governing board of the Boone Clinton Northwest Hendricks Joint Services voted at our previous meeting to award Marissa Cummings this stipend for the additional assessment work that is required under our current testing climate. It's taken on a great deal of work, so this is a token of at least some additional compensation to help her with that. Item 10 coming up is related to joint services as well, so I just remind visitors and public and the board that we are members of that joint services, which includes 6 school districts that we are one of. So we are the fiscal agent for the joint services cooperative. So what that means is that the other 5 districts submit payment to our school district so that we can be the fiscal agent to provide these special education services through the joint cooperative. I use the term cooperative. It's technically not a cooperative, but it's a word that we're kind of all familiar with. It functions in a very similar way as a cooperative. So even though I'm bringing these to you for approval tonight, the funds that funds these positions is through 6 corporations that provides the special education
those
services.
6?
We're one of the, so we have Clinton Prairie, Clinton Central, Western Boone, Tri-West Hendricks or Northwest Hendricks, Lebanon, and I'm leaving out Rossville, who's our chairman of the board, so I shouldn't forget that one, Rossville Schools. So there's 6 districts. We have been the fiscal agent for quite some time.
Yeah.
Quite some time. Mr. Tate does a fine job for about as long as Dr. Hanna has been the board chairman. I think they've shared about the same tenure with the group. But when I bring these to the board, it does require our approval because it has to come through our payroll, but we're not the only district funding that payroll, so just as a reminder of that.
So I need 2 separate votes for this then?
No, only one. You
Okay.
got item 9. I was just
Right.
saying it's an upcoming item as
Right.
well, so.
So, board, I need a motion to request approval of stipend for joint services, and that's gonna take care of 9 and 10. Can I get a motion for that, please?
We better do that separate. We better
Oh, I
do
thought
Steve
that's-
separate.
okay.
No, well, yeah, I was just referencing that the next item is also joint
Okay,
services. I'm
all
sorry.
right, all right. So, item number 9, request approval of stipend for Joint Services Assessment Resource Coordinator. I need a motion for that, please. Second.
I'll second.
Any questions about that?
Safe to say, Dr. Millman, that in your meeting, the board of the directors of
Mhm.
that have agreed to these. So we're just putting the final stamp on it being paid.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. In order for it to be run through our payroll on behalf of the entire joint service. Now, we're getting a benefit from it too. She's working on assessments that
Okay.
involve our students, of
Okay.
course, but we're one of 6 corporations.
But all corporations are in agreements. right?
Yes, yes. It was a unanimous 6-0 vote at the,
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the stipend for Joint Services Assessment Resource Coordinator signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, I also need a motion for the joint services for additional for stipend for the joint services for additional services rendered. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Robert? Second?
I'll second.
Any questions about that? Okay. All those in favor of the stipend for the joint services for additional services rendered signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Item number 11, approval of agreement for Skyward database support. Dr. Millen.
thank you, Mr. Bertrand. Recently, we have a vacancy for a student data coordinator. That's a position that has a lot of impact on our schools on a daily basis. You're familiar with the Skyward program, for example, as parents in the district and used it yourself. There's a lot of data that has to go between the Department of Education and Lebanon schools on an ongoing basis. So student data coordinator is an important position in the district from that standpoint. With that vacancy, we need to kind of pick up the slack until we're able to find a permanent replacement for that position. So this item would provide us contracted services with Debbie Delaney, former employee in the district, for up to 10 hours per week to help with that. She has some previous knowledge and expertise in the use of Skyward and with student data. So I bring that for your consideration this evening.
Board, I need approval of agreement for Skyward database support. And that's in your background notes, how much we'll be paying them. I need a motion for that, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Lisa? Any questions about that?
And you said this is a former employee?
Yeah.
Yes.
She used to manage the database, didn't she?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's actually a former employee in this position. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, those in favor of the agreement for Skyward database support and paying that person signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item number 12, approval of additional compensation for data management services. Dr. Millen.
Same situation, same need. This is a current employee, however. Mrs. Beltran's got her expertise, also having filled that position, but we were asking her to go above and beyond her current duties as executive administrative assistant for my office. So it's the same ask, different person, for your consideration.
Okay. Board, I need approval for additional compensation for data management services. Second?
I'll second.
Any questions about that?
We are intended to fill that position.
Very soon. We have, and sooner the better from, I'm hearing from the gallery this evening. There's a lot of data to manage
Yeah.
in this
I can only
position.
imagine.
So we are currently reviewing applications. Interviews should start almost immediately, right, Mr. Martin? Yeah. Yeah.
And then who do those people report to?
They will be a direct report to Bronson Smith,
Okay.
technology director, but it all falls under operations, so ultimately Mr. Martin's division.
Okay. All right.
Does this employee have the time to do this?
She's
With her schedule now?
making the time in evenings and weekends, outside of what I'm covering her up with, yes. Probably not. We know none of us have the time for everything we're doing, that's for sure, but.
No pressure. All right. Any other questions?
It's a lot of money. Guess it's a need.
All those approving the additional compensation for data management service signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item number 13, first reading of policy update. Dr. Millman.
Thank you, Mr. Bertrand. Mrs. Beltran and I have been busy again, going through another stack to catch us up with our updates on policy. I think we have one more large stack to bring to the board, and then we'll be back on track, I think, within the next few months. I think there are, if I counted correctly, I bring 16 policies for your viewing pleasure and consideration this evening. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have some.
Please ask a couple questions.
Yep,
Of course, because it's policy.
sure.
So on page 8, if your pages are like mine, section I, when it talks about the portion of the meeting during which the public is invited, it says it's limited to 27, but it doesn't say seconds, minutes, days, hours.
Oh,
So we might want to add.
27
that.
minutes?
Yes.
So it's not 27 calendar days?
Exactly.
Duly noted. Thank you for that thorough reading.
And then, this may be in a future policy update, maybe that's why I'm not seeing it, but, page 29 and 30, under section 5335, where it talks about care of students with chronic conditions, I've noticed that there is no mention of mental health anywhere in there. Is mental health mentioned anywhere else in our policy, manual that you're aware of? Because it is a chronic health condition, and I do believe it's important for staff and teachers to receive at least, you know, the minimum suicide prevention training or whatever, which we probably already do, but I didn't know if there were state or federal requirements for that.
Yes.
But I think mental health should be included.
Yes, suicide prevention training is in another portion of the policy manual
Okay.
as a required training. Matter of fact, there's a separate policy, I believe, on suicide prevention training. I think it's tied into another policy with a .01 or .02 to require that training. This specific policy is
I know it's
related to
about
diabetes,
asthma,
diabetes
yeah.
and asthma.
I just
and
wanted to
ma-
make sure we're not.
EpiPens and all the things that go along with making
Right.
sure that we
Right.
follow all the provisions that go along with that.
Just want to
Yes.
make sure we're not excluding mental health because it's such
Of
a.
course.
As you know.
There
it's such
are
a big
pieces
problem.
woven into the policy, I mean, even in just student supervision and welfare.
Okay.
There's another policy that's lengthy, that has a lot of references to things such as that even for everything from, you know, the harassment and bullying to just our responsibility to notice and to care for the students as adults. That's a policy you may want to review as well. That's in the 4,000s and the 3,000s at student supervision and welfare.
Okay.
And that would touch on it. But if that's a policy that, and I believe that's where mental health probably would best be addressed.
Okay.
So if there's anywhere in that policy that you believe that needs to be beefed up, then just bring that revision to us.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it to the board
Okay.
for consideration.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so that's first reading, so we'll wait to the next. Second reading, we'll vote on it. Okay, item number 14, other business. Tomorrow is the much anticipated public hearing for the 2021 budget meeting.
Sorry, Charles.
So,
It's your show, Charles.
Make sure we have plenty of chairs out here, please.
Invited all my friends.
Yeah. That's tomorrow at 7 o'clock. September 16th, we have our work session, and that starts at 12. And October 20th is our next regular school board meeting. Does anybody else have any other business they'd like to share? Yes, Dave, go ahead.
Charles, where are we at on the building trades?
So, this year, we've decided to do a tiny house. So the materials we're expecting to be delivered around November. So at this point in time, they're doing some odd jobs out in the community for a donation back to the program. And again, with a shortened schedule, they're basically 1 day a week with the kids on site. So he has 2 classes that he takes out during the week. So, but we're working with, right now, with REMC, who bought the John Deere place, possibly renting one space there that has a tall garage door, so we could build the tiny home inside that garage, and then when we're completed, it'd be on a trailer that we can display and hopefully sell.
What's the square footage of a tiny house?
It's pretty tiny.
Well, I'd
Yeah.
say, is it like a 1 bedroom,
There's no
Well,
bedroom.
there'll be 2 beds.
2 beds?
Yeah,
All right.
don't sit up quick, you might bang your head.
Yeah.
Got my eye on it.
All right.
good for
What was
the
your other
backyard.
question, Dave?
Steve, stop arm?
The, our corporation bus drivers just submitted 2 for processing. The state-funded task force has made 2 citations. The county sheriff's department, non-task force has made 1 citation, and our SRO Joel Smith has written 3, so total of 8.
Mr. Hur,
Eight too many.
I guess I forgot to tell you that we did sell the last home. We closed on that in September. I'm sorry. I should have stepped back a little bit for that. That house did sell. We closed on that. Selling price was $225,000.
Any other business?
How is the whole bus route thing going with half schedules and half kids and?
I'll give credit where credit's due to the bus drivers and to the secretaries and mechanics and to Becky for organizing all. It's been quite a challenge, but again, they met the challenge. The buses are being sprayed twice daily. The seats are being washed once a week by hand.
By the
And
bus
again,
driver.
I'll give a lot of credit to the students. They're coming to the bus with a mask, both before school and after school. There's not been controversy or people upset with it, and give the students credit and the parents credit for that. So it's been a very good situation.
Anything else? Okay. Well, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.